Do you really think that he is doing this completely naturally? I think it's pretty obvious that something is going on here. So guys, Derek, moreplaysmoreneeds.com. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. highly anticipated fight and the drug testing surrounding it. So obviously, if you've been following Mike from way back in the day, you know there's a lot of controversy surrounding his physique, surrounding his potential deployment of certain performance-enhancing drugs. You know, there's no concrete proof he did or didn't do anything, but there's a lot of rumors going around, especially being resurfaced now based on what's coming up. And this guy's physique, notably, like, first of all, he's a genetic phenom, so you have to give him that off the bat. But earlier in the year, there was some hype around his body transformation. This is before this boxing match was getting a lot of press. His physique was getting a lot of press. There was a article in the Sun. Wait a sec. Very clever use of of wording there. Fucking good pun, buddy. Wait a sec. Mike Tyson reveals dramatic 2-year body transformation to become ripped machine at 53 with fans in shock of specimen. So this was in May. Mike Tyson was labeled a specimen after dramatically transforming his body in just 2 years ahead of his sensational boxing return. The 53-year-old has been doing the rounds to prepare to fight again after announcing plans to box in exhibition bouts for charity. So this is 2018. You know, out of shape, but even if you're on something, if you're on TRT or whatever, you can still get fat and out of shape. I know plenty of guys on TRT who look like absolute dog shit. So it's not an excuse that, oh, you know, he must have hopped on gear and that's the only reason his physique looks good now. Could have been on TRT the whole time. But I think it's safe to say in 2020, this guy looks as good as he did, like, in his young years, pretty much. Like, he looks fucking great here. Visible six-pack, heavy-duty fucking pectorals hanging off the bone here. He's got that bookshelf going. He's got some good mass around the delts, arms, traps. Like, this guy just overall has a better physique than fucking 99% of 25-year-olds at my gym. So, it says Tyson retired in 2005 and claimed to not have trained since his last loss against Kevin McBride 15 years ago, but having spent the last month training under MMA coach Rafael Cordeiro, the reformed baddest man on the planet has transitioned into a ripped again heavyweight, and fans are stunned by his body transformation. Mike Tyson, 53 years young and ripped. What a boss. Mike Tyson is in better shape and looking better than most of the AEW roster. So just a bunch of tweets about his physique, and Mike Tyson is back in fighting shape. Will he make a shock return to boxing? And a lot of them are looking at that before and after. Like, this is one. Keep in mind, this is one shot, though. It's not necessarily representative of, who knows, maybe there's Photoshop going on. I don't fucking know. But this is a very, very impressive after, assuming it is fully legitimate. In 2018, I don't necessarily think he had, like, no muscle or anything. I just think he had that banked myonuclei ready to kick back into gear with muscle memory once he actually gets back on a training regimen, much like many of us if we take time off. It's not that hard to get back, so I don't think it's necessarily like new tissue. He's kind of just returning to what he previously, his memory, muscle memory, had built up in the past, which is fine. This is, that still takes effort to do that regardless. So 2018, he's largely overweight, not holding a lot of muscle. And then 2020, he's cranked and fucking lean. So here, like, this is a picture of him when he's younger. I would say he looks better, his physique now, than he did in this shot right here. That was a bit of a flattering angle. Like, again, if you actually look at this video here, they actually show some training footage of him, and you get like some better angles of that exact same day when they got that picture taken. Man, this guy fucking is so fast and powerful still. It's crazy. Imagine getting hit with that shit. Where's the shot? I'm looking for. Okay, so this is presumably the same day, and yeah, some of the angles are a bit less flattering than the straight on, dead on shot, but like still, this looks. Now that I'm seeing the video, this is actually like looks fairly representative of what we see in the video. It doesn't look like it was manipulated with Photoshop or anything. So this guy's fucking yoked. Now, moving forward to August, we're talking about drug testing in this fight coming up. The major concern raised for Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. exhibition bout. The lack of drug testing for Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. is a major concern, according to a report. So Tyson is 54 and Roy Jones Jr. is 51. And at this time, there was no testing, apparently. Drug testing is the major concern for this event. That needs to be the focus, not the size of the gloves or the headgear, a source revealed. Per the Ring Magazine, talks between the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association and the American fighters remain ongoing despite the contest just over a month away. The California State Athletic Commission have laid out a specific set of rules for Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. They won't be wearing any headgear, but they will be wearing larger than normal gloves. It has also been disclosed that the bout will be stopped if either fighter receives a cut. Tyson versus Jones Jr. has split the boxing community, with promoter Eddie Hearn expressing his concerns over the high-profile match. The commission has said they can't go for a knockout. Can you imagine? Tyson comes out and goes for a knockout and the commissioner waves it off. That's an absolute disaster. Blah, 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 blah. And basically, as time went on, more concern was around the drug testing, how strict it's going to be, what's going on with it. Roy Jones Jr., 51, in just a couple weeks ago at this point, reveals he has been visited by VADA for regular fight testing ahead of facing 54-year-old Mike Tyson. So at this point, Roy Jones Jr. talked about how he had been visited by anti-doping testers. The American legend claimed the 8-round exhibition on November 28th will have regular fight testing. Mike Tyson has dramatically transformed his body since putting on the gloves again. And VADA have already taken a pre-fight sample from the 51-year-old. Jones told Joe Rogan they said they were doing regular fight testing, so just how they would do in a normal fight. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of speculation around what kind of normal fight testing actually is. So we're going to get tested as though we were regular athletes, as though we were fighting in a regular sanctioned fight. VADA has already been to my house once. If you ain't got it in those with 51 years of life, then too bad, you ain't getting it. Tyson retired in 2005, dramatically changed his body, blah, blah, blah. Obviously there was a concern about the drug testing, all that kind of stuff. So presumably they're getting drug tested, and Roy Jones Jr. sounds like he, I guess, is happy about that because it, helps his safety, not having Mike Jones on fucking check drops, probably. So, and that's just a little tidbit. If that is, the rumor mill surrounding the community is that is the drug of choice of Mike Tyson that he used when he bit the ear off. It's supposedly driven by check drops, and then some people think it was halo testing. Many think it was check drops, though. There's nothing to prove that, by the way. But anyways, now, this was around the same time, and he basically detailed how the Roy Jones Jr. mentioned how VADA had been to his house already. He went on Joe Rogan, talked about it. And, the thing is Mike Tyson's physique has not regressed, despite now there being intermittent drug testing. So presumably, whatever he was doing before, do you really think he wasn't using anything to get back to this from this? Do you really think he's not deploying TRT at least to get back to that? Do you really think that he is doing this completely naturally? I think it's pretty obvious that something is going on here. Like, I highly doubt this is representative of natural progression in a 54-year-old who is still explosive AF in his 50s, according to whatever this quote is from. So, and that's just my speculation based on his physique transformation, as well as, like, he is a genetic freak, yes, but it's like the amount of weight he's holding, the amount of lean tissue he's holding, the dramatic change, how his physique basically looks as good, if not better than it was in many of his younger years. It would be hard to justify that this is totally natural, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's at least on TRT. So what are the chances that he's not, doing something? Do you think he, came off, because he's getting regularly tested? Does it even fucking matter that he's being randomly tested? To be honest, I would like to see the parameters. What is this regular testing? Is it just these shitty gas chromatography of mass spectrometry screening analysis where they just look for basic metabolites of hormones that otherwise aren't bioidentical, and then you just have free reign to use a certain amount of TRT? What's going on? I would like to know. And if I was Roy Jones Jr., I would really press for that information, because from what I can tell, and what I would speculate, is this is probably one of those rudimentary screening tests where they make it seem like, oh yeah, we're thoroughly fucking testing you for every single synthetic anabolic that there is, when it's just like a smart fighter who's actually trying to skirt around it would just avoid compounds that are very easily detectable at low thresholds and aren't bioidentical, and would deploy bioidentical testosterone at a level that would otherwise fall within the testosterone to epitestosterone ratio cutoff, which presumably is probably what Tyson is doing, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong on that. Maybe he's natty as fuck. You never know. Maybe he's just that, like he's a genetic phenom, of course. Maybe he's just natural. But for me, I think it would be, you'd have a hard time convincing me unless you showed me some like prerequisite guaranteed like isotopic ratio mass spectrometry test results or something that they're doing randomly that he is in fact not using TRT. That would be, you know, I would like to see exactly what the parameters of this testing actually is. And I'm sure, you know, Roy Jones Jr. would benefit from knowing that too. So I think he should press harder for more information and see what the deal is, because I don't think this is going to be a natural fight from both sides. And I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how strict this is, because, you know, just having like we're tested like regular fighters, like how strict is that? You know, I think it kind of depends. So for me, I would want to see more details behind these kind of screening parameters and whatnot and see exactly what we're dealing with here. But personally, I do not think this is going to be a natural bout. I think this is going to be not drug ridden, but I think there is certainly going to be PEDs involved in the equation. So we'll see what happens. It's later in the month, apparently, and it should be interesting because it looks like I haven't seen Roy Jones Jr. training, but Mike Jones, or I just about said Mike Jones, but Mike Tyson looks like a fucking animal right now. So we'll see. It's going to be cool to see the return of both. And it looks like Tyson's still fucking rocket quick, dude. So we're going to find out what the deal is. And I don't know. I feel like the drug testing, that was kind of just one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're doing it super strict, and like everything is super clean and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, is it just a front at the end of the day, boys? You know, it seems that way in many cases. So that would be my speculation. And it's kind of like, who has the intelligent coaching to kind of steer them in the right direction? That's kind of what I would say. So anyways, take from that what you will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think Tyson is on anything? What do you think it is? And what do you think about Roy Jones Jr.? And what do you think about the, I don't know, the fight in general, the testing parameters, what is going to happen, who's going to win? Any and all comments help because they help push the algorithm, and it's much appreciated when you guys drop them down there. It pushes the algorithm and makes the brand go to a more widespread audience that may not otherwise see the video. So it's much appreciated when you guys do that. Like I said, if you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description down below. My TRT clinic, it's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home, so you don't even need to leave the house to meet with the doctor. Super convenient, way of the future in my opinion. Check it out. And Gorilla Mind, Gorilla Mode, my turnkey nootropic and pre-workout formulas I designed from scratch myself on a Word document. I don't outsource it to a private label manufacturer to make. I literally write this shit out myself. Every formula that I talk about on my channel is one that I sat down, literally wrote from scratch myself. And I encourage you to just compare your current pre, pull out the label, look at the label, compare it to ours. And it's pretty transparent why you should switch, or at least give us a shot, in my opinion. So I do not think you will be disappointed. And anything else I am associated with in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.